Hello, welcome back, Nick Lenz's Novel Reviews. This is episode 6 and Doubleshot number 2. First up, Book 3 of Star Trek The Fall, A Ceremony of Losses, written by David Mack, who is definitely a regular Star Trek writer. He's written books for at least about almost just for the original series. I think also books for Next Generation, and mainly just original series and Deep Space Nine. Now, this book takes place from August 31st to September 19th. But the prelude is set 5 months earlier, and the epilogue is set a year later. Okay, fine. So basically, 5 months, like just the build up to this. But the thing is, like with the previous book, most of the time this book takes place either during, like, when it starts out, it takes place during this book, but probably picks up not long after. It takes place during this book and this book. But it ends about, I think it ends about 2 weeks later. Yeah, a little over 2 weeks later. About 2 weeks after this book ends. And then the course jumps ahead 1 year later. Now, the reason why the Defiant is firing at the shuttlecraft, I'm about to explain why. For one thing, this book is leagues above, is much better than the previous book. This book is so gripping and exciting. Dr. Bashir brings in a team of doctors to develop a cure, develop a sort of fix, in a way, to fix the problem with the Andorians. And what does he do? He uses classified technology. Basically, there's a small connection to the Star Trek Vanguard series in this book. Yes, Vanguard is referenced in here along with their research into the shoddy Mendrum. And he uses that to fix the Andorians. And plus also, in order to make sure that he gets all the blame for this, because he's in trouble for doing this, and he doesn't want the chief medical, one of whom happens to be Dr. Pulaski. So you have a third book in a row, you have a character who appears in here from a different series. Yes, but in the difference between Captain Rowe and Dr. Pulaski was an entire season as a regular character, despite the fact she was credited as such. Rowe, which is a recurring character. But anyways, Bashir actually finds a cure, and he wants to get the Andorians as quickly as possible, because the station security found out about this. And they wanted to arrest him for using classified technology, and he steals the shuttlecraft, and he gets to Andoria. Perfectly fine. And before then, he makes sure for a fact that the scientists do not get charged with the charges he's going to be charged with, which is like treason and a bunch of other stuff, because Andoria, about a few years prior to, at least about 3 years prior to this very story, they leave, actually, I think it's 2 years. 2 years for this very story, Andoria leaves the Federation. Yes, Andoria is sort of an independent planet, which the reason why they left because of the fact they can't reproduce and the fact the species is dying. Basically, Bashir fixes that problem, and he succeeds. But he's arrested and taken to a classified prison, in which he gets, well, I'll explain more of that when I get to the last book of the series. Suffice to say, exciting book. So basically, you have a lot of the time, basically a good chunk of this book takes place during these two books right here, while the rest of the book takes place right after that. Basically, you have a lot of concurrently. You have a lot of stuff take place concurrently, like the same exact time. Yes, and a much better book, but this is heavily focused on Dr. Bashir. But it's also focused on the DS9 cast, who's in the novels at this point. Sisko is not really in the book, but he is referenced, and plus Bashir also resigns his commission, and so he's referred to as like a former chief medical officer. And what happens in this book is the reason why Dr. Crusher takes the position as temporary chief medical officer until Bashir is restored or until they find a replacement. But yeah, awesome book, and plus there's some shady stuff going on with the new president. That kind of it's developing with the storyline with the new president of how evil he really is. That starts in this very book. It doesn't get much development in the first two books, but it starts here. This is where it starts. But like I said, awesome book. Definitely recommend it to people. I do think that you do need to read this book. I would definitely not skip any of the books. But yeah, good book. 9.5 out of 10. Awesome, gripping. When I first read this, I couldn't put this book down. I wanted to know what happens next. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those Star Trek books you gotta keep reading. You can't stop. You gotta keep reading what happens next. Awesome book. Next up is The Poison Chalice, written by James Shaw. This one's a bit longer than the other books. This book takes place from September 20th to October 12th, 2385. Also, I should also mention, a year after the events of this book, the Andorians can reproduce again. Yeah. And this book picks up right after that previous book. So basically, no more having books. So you have these. So at this point, prior to this book, you have these three books right here, all take place around the same time of each other, very closely. And then after the completion of the third book, starting with this very book, it's taking place right afterwards. It has mentions of Bashir's arrest. Yeah, he does get arrested. Now, this ship on the cover is not the Defiant. It's not the Enterprise. This is the Titan, Captain Riker's ship. And guess what happens to Riker in here? A big character development for him. Fleet Admiral Leonard James Ackner promotes him to Admiral. Yes. So now you have an Admiral Riker. Now, some of you who never read Amazadi, I think it's the very first Amazadi book, Admiral Riker from the future, and plus there's also Admiral Riker who appears in the series finale of Next Generation, who was an older version of Riker. This kind of sets the stage for that. So you have Riker as an Admiral, and in a way he's not technically the captain of the ship anymore, but he's still, the ship is his flagship now. And according to Ackner, he's an admiral. He's a flag officer without a portfolio, and he reports directly to Ackner because of the suspicious stuff that the president is up to. As a matter of fact, Riker himself actually confronts the president. He beams directly into his office in Paris. Yeah, I gotta say one thing about the writers, people who write the Star Trek Titan series. Riker's got balls, and he's not an idiot. This is one thing I'm happy for the Expanding Universe novels, is the fact that the regular characters, the characters we love, are not written like idiots. Like, sometimes when they appear on the TV show, they might be written like complete idiots. Riker is not an idiot. Neither is his crew. None of them are idiots. They're all very smart. Not much to say about the other parts of his crew, but mainly you get focused on Riker, Troy, a little focus on the daughter, which is Tasha, a little also on the Chief Medical Officer, and of course, Riker's first officer, Christina Vale, who is an original character for the Expanding Universe, mainly for Next Generation, who became the Worf's replacement Chief of Security on the Enterprise Z, when the ship, like right after the ship was launched. But for some reason, in case you're wondering, if she was the first Chief of Security for the Enterprise Z, why was she shown in the movie? I have no idea why she wasn't shown in the movie. Maybe she wasn't casted. I have no idea. But despite that, this book is really exciting, just like the previous book. Also, they're both very exciting. And so basically, like with like with the second book, it's a character development. Basically, Riker is the one character who gets a bunch of development here. Just like how Garrick gets a lot of development in the second book of the series. But this is the pencil book of the series. Yeah, this book series is only 5 books long. I think so. Yeah, it's actually I think it's 6 books long, but this is the fourth book of the series. And it is very good. Now the next Titan book deals with the after effects that happened in this book. But suffice to say, another really good book for the Star Trek book line. I gotta thank Pocket Books basically for starting this particular series. 4 books in, really good, despite the hiccup with this book. But yeah, another really good book. Yeah, I definitely recommend it, just like I recommend every book I read on here. And I give this book also a 9.5 out of 10. Really good book. If you're fans of X-Ration, pick this book up. Definitely. Also, if you're fans of the Star Trek Titan series, that book does count as part of the Star Trek Titan book line. It does really count for that. Okay? Stay tuned for the next episode whenever I get a chance to know one of these novel reviews. Until then, it'll be episode 7, by the way. This was episode 6. Okay? Until then, see you there. Bye.